Hello and welcome to Up Your Wine Game. Today, I'm super excited, and I know you're going to be super excited because guess what we're tasting? We're tasting Caymus. That's it. The Caymus 2022 Cabernet Sauvignon 50th anniversary of this iconic, historic, rightfully famous vineyard and winery. So, to give a quick recap, I tasted the 21 vintage not that long ago. In a nutshell, it was horrible. So let's just go back to, and a lot of you were like, why are you hating on Caymus? Well, I'm not hating on Caymus. I'm just kind of telling a story here because when I first got in the business some 30 plus years ago, I worked for the distributor that distributed Caymus in New York and New Jersey. So at this time, this was in 1990. And at the time, the 86 and 87 Napa cabs were out, and they were, in a word, stunning. So when I was there, it was Spotswood, Duckhorn, Schaefer, Caymus, Hess, Clos de Bois Marlstone, Mondavi Reserve, like all of these, Clos de Val, all of these were making, all of these wineries were producing like top-notch, iconic cabs, and they were all between 15 and 25 bucks, like all of those names then for the standard. I mean, it was like lights out, just absolutely amazing wine. Opus at that point was like 50 bucks, 55 bucks, and people were like, that's insane. Who's going to pay that kind of money? But back then, I say that to say that back then, Caymus, I remember tasting their 86, their 84, the 85, the 86, the 87. These wines were just lights out wines. And literally back then, I think Caymus was on the front of the Wine Spectator, it seemed like every other month. But the wines were stunning, and deservedly so. The Wagner family made absolutely stunning wines back there. But there was a lot of company with Gergich, those guys. I mean, these are the people who really put Napa on the map. So let's fast forward. In the late 90s, early 2000s, the world stage pivoted and Caymus pivoted with it, and they started to make wines that were more approachable, younger, right? So these wines that we're making in the 80s, in the 70s, 80s, early 90s, late 90s even, these were all meant to be wines that could age, right? And so money being money, it's like, hey, look, there's a global market out there for these wines. What about if we were to dial back the way we make these big, intense, focused wines and make them more accommodating early on? And so what you started to see, and part of the reason I think Silver Oak became so popular so quickly is because it was a big plush Alexander Valley style, even though they have the Napa style, but it was a big kind of oak soft bomb, and those wines took off. In a word, or in a couple words, Caymus pivoted and started to create wines that were way more accommodating, way softer, and easier to drink when they were younger. Fine. There was a worldwide market for that. People were started to lap these wines up. But the wines clearly changed to the point where a couple of years ago, I tasted the 2016, and it was just a big goo ball, flabby, unstructured, like parachute pants. If wine were clothing, they'd be parachute pants from the 80s, just big blousy, blobby, like nothing to it. Nightmare, disaster mouth, whatever. But never has the wine been more popular. They continue to sell boatloads of this stuff. Not sure what production-wise they are up to, but I can assure you it's a lot of wine. And here we are, 50th anniversary of this wine. This comes in a liter bottle, 2022 vintage. I'm just thinking, okay, 21, maybe not their best vintage at all. So I'm hoping that the 22 is a lot better for their sake, because this is a $100 bottle of wine. I think the 750 is like 80 bucks, whatever. So we're not, this is not inexpensive wine, right? So I just Corvin this. You can see it's missing. A lot of people are like, well, if the bottle's not open, how do you get the wine out? Google Corvin. That will answer all of your question. So here we are, 2022. Let's see what we got. So it smells plush, but restrained. There is clearly ripe fruit here, but I would never peg this as Napa. I'm not getting any of the intense black fruit, cassis, some light herb, some earth. But usually when I put my nose into Napa Cab, especially over a certain price, I'm wanting some intensity. I'm expecting some intensity, and of dark fruit, blue fruits, black fruits. And here, it's noticeably muted. It's not unpleasant by any stretch. There is fruit here. It smells wine-ish, right? It smells like wine. But nothing here that's telling me at all that this is clearly Napa, or even clearly Sonoma for that matter. I would say it speaks to, yes, this is California, but nothing intense at all going on here in the nose, which I'm kind of like, even had it been a big flamboyant kind of Paso super ripe nose or cocoa, I would have been like, okay, here we go. But it's not that. So it's more just kind of Central Coast Cab, Central Valley Cab, red wine blend. Yeah, there is what is that? Yeah, it's just not a whole lot going on. I mean, I hate to say it, but it smells like wine, smells like red wine, smells like clean red wine. But it doesn't smell like excitement. The color is just your standard, no radioactive looking purples or whatever. So it just looks like, a rich red wine, but not picking up a whole lot in the nose. So we're going to move on here because if anything, maybe, no, nothing jumps out on the nose. Okay, that's what people are going to like. So the Attack, super fruity. And this is super velvety. Caymus drinkers, you're going to like this a lot more than if you tasted the 21. And if you skipped it, trust me, you did yourself a favor. This is more in line. There's some heat on the end of this. There's a little bit of heat. And when I say heat, that means a light burn. This says 14.9 or 14.8% alcohol by volume. By law, they're allowed a percent or 1.5%. So if this says 14.9, I would suspect that since I'm getting a little burn on this, that this could be as high as 15.9, lurking towards 16. But by law, they've got either 1% or 1.5% alcohol adjustment, but I am getting a light burn, but nothing super aggressive by any stretch. It's just something that I noticed and I'm putting it out there. But a word that I have been hearing in the wine industry even before I even got into the wine industry is the word smooth. It is a word that people in the industry, we kind of laugh at, but quite honestly, it's a word that people use in every day to describe a wine that they like or don't like. This is a very smooth wine. It is velvety. That said, and it's a velvety, medium-bodied, juicy, red and dark fruit juice ball is what this is. But the Attack is noticeably sweet. There's residual sugar here. And the finish is sweet. It's almost like tangy taffy, like cherry tangy taffy. I don't know if that candy is even still around. It was a jam in the 70s and 80s. But this tastes like cherry tangy taffy. This is not a flawed wine. This is not a great wine. this is not an $80 to $100 bottle of wine, but what it is a Caymus lover's Cabernet. Like if you like Caymus, you're going to like this a lot more than the 2021. But if you are a Napa Valley Cab drinker, I would not encourage you to buy this wine. I had a wine the other day from Heights, right? Another old story, been around forever. They make traditionally styled Napa Valley wines to this day. I tasted the C91, it's called. It's a blend of different single vineyards within Napa, some Howell Mountain fruit, the whole bit. They put it together. That is about an $80 to $100 bottle of wine. It is drop dead gorgeous. That said, it's not a traditional Napa Valley Cab. They don't take any of their red wines or white wines for that matter through malolactic fermentation. So it's a very high-spirited, focused, penetrating, brighter acid, heavenly Cabernet Sauvignon from Napa. This is just the opposite. If there were such thing as triple malolactic fermentation, this has gone through it. It's almost too soft. There's no structure to this wine. But that is where we're kind of going with cabs from California these days. The ones that are popular, getting all the attention, all the praise. Not even just from Napa, but everywhere else. Austin Hope. These are wines that are juice balls. They are immediately appealing. They do not need, nor require, nor desire aging. They are ready, fire, aim. They are ready to go as soon as you bring them home from the store. I really, this is not my kind of Cabernet Sauvignon. This is not your typical Napa Cabernet Sauvignon. But if you are a Caymus fan, I will tell you that they are back on track with the 22 compared to the 21. That said, if they are trying to make wines now that represent Napa Valley, epic fail, because this is not what Napa Valley is all about. And even though there's nothing wrong with this wine, I just don't, more power to them for being able to get the money they get for this wine. Bottom line. Yeah, sweet. That's it in a nutshell. It's like they took a structured wine and then put maraschino cherry juice in it. I mean, that's the only way I can really describe it. It's not rough. It's not coarse. It's not flawed. It's not green. It's just sweet, plain and simple. I don't really know how else to describe it. I don't know what the level percentage of residual sugar in this wine, and I don't know what it is, but I can tell you, this borders on semi-sweet, plain and simple. And I fully understand the difference between a fruity wine and a sweet wine. This has totally jumped the shark on a fruity wine, and we are now wading in sweet waters. So that's my take on Caymus 2022. I mean, this is their 50th anniversary. How the wine has changed over these 50 years. But I can assure you now that this wine doesn't taste anything like it did 20 years ago. And, it is what it is. It's hideously popular. That's why, I shelled out money to buy this sample, because I know there's a lot of Caymus drinkers out there. What I am going to do is follow up with 3 or 4 other Napa Cabs that might be the same price, that might be less, that are more traditional, that to me will give you a much better idea of what Napa Cabernet is all about, because Napa Cab in general is stunning. It's the best California has as far as I'm concerned, even though there are wineries in Sonoma that are nipping on its heels for sure. But I gotta say, If you're a Caymus fan, knock yourself out. Put that hundy on the table and get yourself a bottle of this. But for Sweet Cab, I'm just not going to do it. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. Share it. Do what you need to do. But that's where I am on the Caymus 2022. We'll see what they have to offer in 2023. Until next time, drink well, stay well, and take care.